My name is Noelle Carver, 32 years old. I pause outside the private dining room of the Cypress Room, my fingers tightening around the velvet-wrapped watchbox until the corners press little crescents into my palm. Through frosted glass, figures blur and clinks of crystal stitch the air together. An expensive music I've paid for more times than I can count. 8 years of answering every call, solving every disaster, wiring money with my jaw set and my chest tight. Tonight is supposed to be different. Tonight, I show them that all of it meant something, that I meant something. I breathe once, smooth the black dress that always makes my mother purse her lips and push open the door. Eleonora lifts her gaze first, regal at the head of the table, eyes sweeping me like a metal detector searching for flaws. Preston smirks into his wine as if the smirk were a family heirloom. Spencer doesn't look up until he finishes whatever is happening on his phone, and when he does, the delight he arranges on his face is too perfect to be anything but rehearsed. Noelle finally decided to show. My father rises, the only warmth in the room. "There's my girl," Harrison says, arms opening, and for a second I remember being small and certain he could fix anything. His hug is tight and honest, and I let myself believe that maybe, at least, he is still mine. "Happy birthday, Dad." I hand him the box. His fingers trace the wrapping with the reverence of someone touching a memory. I slide into the last empty chair, directly opposite my mother, a little island at the far end. Isolation disguised as etiquette. The server appears and asks what I'd like to drink. "She'll have the house white," Eleonora says smoothly. Noelle never could tell the difference between wines. "Cabernet, please," I say to the server without looking away from my mother. "The 2018. A muscle ticks once in Eleonora's jaw. "Must be nice to have disposable income when you don't have real responsibilities like children," she murmurs, just loud enough for the table to hear. "Mother," I say, a smile fixed to my face like stage makeup, "are you doing that thing where you pretend an insult is a fact again?" "I'd like to order a second appetizer for the table," I add to the server, moving the conversation along. Preston rolls his eyes in long-suffering theater. "Of course you would," he says, always showing off. It flashes through me, the first big bailout I ever did. 22, first bonus, an email from my mother that read like a wire transfer form with adjectives. "The bank is foreclosing. We'll lose the house. Please, your father is too proud to ask." I wired the entire bonus before lunch and felt like a hero for a week. "You saw through it before I did," Julian told me years later, after I canceled our anniversary dinner to fix Preston's mess. "They're using you, Noelle. This stops when you stop it." I waved him off. Family comes first. 3 months later, he didn't. Plates arrive, stories bloom and wither. Spencer performs a monologue about his latest girlfriend. Preston praises his own insight about a can't-miss investment and, as if on cue, takes a long, deliberate sip of the Cabernet I ordered. He doesn't break eye contact. I could list every bill I've paid for him, the way other sisters might recite childhood nicknames. Gift time creeps in, that choreography our family knows too well. Preston presents grilling tools, still in plastic, grave as a priest. Spencer slides across a framed photo of himself with Dad at a baseball game I wasn't invited to. "To remember our special day," he says, and looks at me like he's dared me to object to the past. My father opens my box, and the room inhales. The Hamilton silver case throws a small galaxy of light onto the linen. The leather strap is rich and supple, the second hand smooth as breath. "Noelle," Dad whispers, "this is too much." "It's perfect," I say. It is something that lasts, something that says time and love and I see you. Eleonora's smile curdles. "Well, when you don't have a husband or family to support, I suppose you can buy whatever you like." "That's not fair," I hear myself say, my voice steady and shaking all at once. "Not fair," she repeats lightly. "What isn't fair is how you flaunt money to make us feel small. Buying your father's love is grotesque." "I paid for his surgery," I say before I can swallow the words. "I'm paying for this dinner. I've paid for property taxes and tuition refunds and—" "There it is," Eleonora says, voice brightening like she's caught the bouquet. "The ledger, always tallying. You want to know the truth." She leans forward, eyes gleaming. "You're pathetic. A lonely, bitter woman who keeps score because that's all she has." I look to my brothers for a lifeline. Preston smirks into the Cabernet. Spencer's mouth twitches with something like pleasure. My father looks at his plate, an entire man contained by silence. The clarity arrives not as thunder, but as a click, a little door opening in my chest. I am not their daughter, I am their bank. And banks have policies. At the host stand, the maitre d' glances toward the private room, then back at me with a pity she tries to swallow. Is everything all right, Ms. Carver? Perfect, I say. I'd like to adjust the payment. Please charge my meal and Mr. Harrison Carver's meal to my card. The remaining bill for 6 guests bring directly to Mrs. Eleonora Carver. I slide 2 crisp hundreds to the server as a tip for grace under fire. Please deliver it after I leave. Outside, the night air lifts the hair at my nape like a blessing. My phone buzzes before I reach the car. 6 missed calls from Eleonora. A text from my cousin Alicia. Did you see the family chat? What family chat? Screenshots arrive, time-stamped 3 hours before dinner. Preston. Noelle booked the Cypress room. Spencer. She just got that promotion. Time to launder the bonus. Eleonora. Boys, be nice. Your sister is just trying. Trying what? The 3 dots after that sentence contain a decade of contempt. The cold I feel is surgical, precise. I start the engine. The first voicemail hisses through the speakers. How dare you embarrass me like that? After everything I've done for you, you ungrateful. I delete it, and the next, the pitch rising and falling like a siren I'm finally stepping away from. When the last one ends, I do something small and enormous. I block her number. The silence settles on my shoulders like a shawl I forgot I owned. I open my laptop and the kitchen table and navigate to a travel site I've bookmarked for years. Tuscany waits like a dare I'm finally answering. I book it in 10 minutes and cry for 2. Then I do what I do best. I gather the paper. Bank statements, emails, receipts, raw numbers. The table becomes a history I can finally read without flinching. $30,000 from my 401k for Dad's spinal surgery the insurance would have covered if premiums had been paid. $15,000 for back-due property taxes on a house where I've never slept since college. $10,000 to Preston's venture that dissolved into smoke and silence. Utility bills, car repairs, Spencer's textbooks for degrees that lasted as long as his relationships. I add the totals once, then again, printing the pages until the black ink smudges my fingers. I am building a museum to a life I am leaving. My phone lights with a new atrocity. Spencer has tagged me in a GoFundMe. Family betrayed by narcissist sister. The description reads like a gothic novel. I report it and watch the page vanish into whatever digital bin collects lies. An anonymous email arrives minutes later from Spencer's personal account. You'll regret this. I read it twice, waiting for the old panic to fire the trapdoor in my stomach. It doesn't. Something inside me hardens and clarifies, like plaster setting exactly where the wall cracked. By midnight, the receipts lie in neat stacks and my breathing is quiet again. The watch box sits on the counter, empty now, the gift where it belongs. I rinse ink from my fingers and catch my reflection in the dark kitchen window. Tired, yes, but not hunted. Not anymore. The phone face down on the counter vibrates once, twice. I don't move. It vibrates again. The sound small in the new silence of my apartment. Then a last, longer buzz for voicemail before the screen goes still. Curiosity tugs. I flip the phone and see an email notification glow against the dim. From Spencer. Subject line, we're not done. I let the subject burn like a match and then go out. I turn the phone face down again and walk to the bedroom where my suitcase waits open on the bench like a mouth ready to speak a new language. I drop a guidebook into it. I switch off the light. In the dark, I see the Hamilton's second hand in my mind, smooth and certain, cutting time into equal pieces that belong to me now. I pull the covers up, listen to the building breathe, and finally let my body learn the shape of sleep without fear. The next morning, sunlight cuts through the blinds in clean, deliberate lines, and for the first time in years, I don't wake to the sound of my phone. No alarms, no emergency calls, no guilt-laden messages waiting to hijack the day. Just quiet. I sit at the kitchen table, sipping coffee from the chipped blue mug Julian once gave me. For mornings when you forget yourself. The Tuscany itinerary lies open on my laptop, the confirmation emails glowing like proof that escape isn't fantasy anymore. By mid-morning, I'm sitting across from Dr. Annabelle Croft, the therapist Julian once urged me to see. Her office smells like lavender and new beginnings. You said you feel free, she says, voice gentle. So why do you also feel lost? Because I don't know who I am without a crisis to fix. Her pen hovers above the pad. You played the role of the fixer, she says. It gave you identity, but it wasn't you. Our work is to find out who Noelle is when she isn't rescuing anyone. The words settle deep, rearranging something quiet in me. Later that evening, as rain starts to whisper against the window, I pour a glass of red wine and open a cream-colored envelope that's been waiting on my counter all day. My mother's handwriting unfurls across expensive stationery, loops too practiced to be sincere. My dearest daughter, it begins. After much reflection and spiritual counseling, I realize how my own childhood wounds may have influenced our misunderstanding. It reads like a performance, remorse wrapped in vanity. There's no mention of the dinner, no acknowledgement of her words, no apology, just paragraphs about legacy, family, and divine purpose. Then the postscript in a different pen. P.S. Your father misses you terribly, and the property tax bill is due next month. For a long time, I stare at the line, at how quickly guilt can masquerade as love. Then I pick up the scissors from my desk and begin cutting the letter into perfect, tiny squares. The confetti falls into the trash like snow. The next morning, I make 3 calls. First, to my bank, setting an automatic $500 transfer back into my retirement fund every month. Second, to Rachel, one of the few friends who still dares to ask how I'm doing. I need you to do something for me, I say. If my family reaches out, don't tell me. Don't update me. Don't pass along messages no matter how dramatic they sound. A pause, then a soft laugh. They've been calling me, haven't they? Everyone except Dad. Consider it done, she says. You're off limits. Third, to a pottery studio downtown. Beginner's class starts Tuesday, the receptionist chirps. Do you have any prior experience? No, I say, smiling at the understatement. But I'm ready to learn how to make something that's mine. That night, as I wedge cool clay beneath my palms, the instructor guides my hands. Don't fight it, she says. Let the wheel lead. The clay yields, reshapes, smooths. It feels like forgiveness in motion. Days blur into quiet routine until Marianne from my office appears at my door, eyes wide. Noelle, she says. Your brother's here, downstairs. Says it's an emergency. Ice crawls up my spine. Tell him I'm in a meeting, I say automatically. He said he'll wait. I glance through the glass wall toward reception. Spencer leans against the desk, phone in hand, wearing that charming smile that always precedes destruction. I grab my coat, my pulse steady but fast. If he asks again, I tell Marianne, say I left for the day. I slip through the back stairwell and out into the parking garage, my heels echoing. My reflection in the car window looks unfamiliar, shoulders squared, eyes calm. That night, I open my laptop and create a new spreadsheet. Column A, date. Column B, emergency. Column C, amount. I begin from the start, age 22, first bailout, and move forward year by year. The list stretches longer than I expect. Next to each dollar sign, I write what it cost me personally. Missed anniversary dinner, lost promotion, sleepless nights. By the time I finish, the sum is staggering. $73,450 in loans and gifts. A ledger of love disguised as obligation. When I close the file, my inbox pings. A new notification. Facebook. Eleonora's post. A black and white photo of herself staring mournfully out a window. The deepest wounds come from those we love most. Some children forget where they came from. Below it, a flood of comments. Old family friends offering prayers. Even Mrs. Peterson, my 3rd grade teacher. Sending love, Eleonora. Some children need time to realize what truly matters. For a moment, I hover over the comment box, wanting to type something sharp, surgical. Then I stop. Public shame as control. Dr. Croft's voice. I close the app. The landline rings. The one number I haven't blocked. 3 of your mother's friends called me today, Julian says without preamble. Apparently I'm dating a monster. I'm sorry, I whisper. Don't be. I told them all to go to hell. His voice softens. How are you, really? Trying to breathe like a person who's allowed to exist. Good start, he says. Keep going. Before I can reply, my work line buzzes. Marianne again, hesitant. Your brother's in the lobby. Says it's about Dad. Won't leave. My pulse steadies into something cold. Tell him I'm busy. I'll call later. She hesitates. He said it's life or death. Then he can call an ambulance, I say, and hang up. That evening, the elevator dings on my floor. I freeze. Footsteps stop at my door. A soft thud, a cream envelope sliding beneath it. My mother's handwriting. Again. I pick it up but don't open it. Instead, I place it on the counter next to the half-finished ceramic bowl from class. I pour a glass of wine, sit down, and watch the envelope in silence. After 10 minutes, I slide it into the trash unopened. Later that night, my phone lights up. Dad. I almost don't answer, but guilt still knows how to whisper. Hey, sweetheart, he says. I miss you. 3 words. Simple, dangerous. I miss you too, I admit. But I can't come back, Dad. Not like before. We're a family, he says softly. Family sticks together through thick and thin. Is that what happened at your birthday dinner? My voice trembles despite myself. Did family stick together then? Silence hums through the line, then a sigh. I should have stopped her, he says. I didn't. I'm sorry. For the first time, he sounds small, human. I love you, Dad, I whisper, but I can't be your sacrifice anymore. After we hang up, I cry exactly 10 minutes, then wash my face and start cooking dinner. When the phone rings again, I let it go to voicemail. This time, it's Spencer's voice, rehearsed and tight. We need to talk. It's about Dad. I press delete without listening to the rest. But an hour later, a text arrives. Meet me at Cafe Mirabelle tomorrow morning. You owe it to him. I stare at the screen. The old pattern hums like static. Guilt, duty, fear. Then I exhale. Fine, I whisper to the empty room. Let's finish this. The next morning, I'll walk into that cafe, recorder in my purse, coffee in hand, ready to pull the last thread of their lies until the whole thing unravels. The next morning, the city hums with early traffic, a soft gray sky pressing low over the streets. I sit in my car outside Cafe Mirabelle, palms wrapped around a paper cup gone lukewarm. Inside, the place glows with warm light, exposed brick, steam rising from espresso machines, the quiet murmur of people beginning their day. It's almost peaceful, almost safe. Julian is already there. He texted me 15 minutes ago. I'll sit nearby. You won't be alone. I spot him at the back, laptop open, pretending to type. Just knowing he's here steadies my breathing. I take one last sip of coffee, square my shoulders, and step inside. The bell over the door chimes, and heads turn. Then I see him, Spencer, waving me over with that same polished confidence he's weaponized since childhood. Pressed khakis, crisp blue shirt, smile dialed to concerned brother. Noelle, he says, standing halfway, as if to prove his good manners to the room. Thank you for coming. I have 30 minutes, Kay, I say, setting my phone on the table. The screen lights up for a second, confirming what he can't see, recording in progress. He hesitates, then slides a manila envelope toward me. I brought some things you need to see. Inside are photographs. My father, thinner, paler, sitting slumped in his favorite recliner. Another of him in what looks like a hospital room. One more, eyes closed, an IV taped to his arm. The images are grainy, lit by the flicker of fluorescent bulbs. What am I looking at? I ask quietly. Evidence, Spencer says. Dad's not doing well. He hasn't been the same since you left. The pause before left is surgical. His blood pressure's through the roof. He barely eats. The doctors say his body's failing under the stress. I study the photos again, looking for proof beyond the story. There's a date on one, 3 months ago, not recent. What hospital? I ask. County General, he says instantly. And the doctor? Dr. Wilson, he answers, eyes dropping for just a heartbeat too long. I lean back. A neurosurgeon or cardiologist? What difference does that make? It makes a difference because you're claiming he needs surgery again. I'd like to talk to his doctor directly. He blinks, startled. You can't just call his doctor. There are privacy laws. Dad can authorize it, I interrupt. Let's call him right now. He's resting, Spencer snaps. The medication makes him tired. The cafe noise folds around us. Steam hiss, a spoon clinking against porcelain. I wait. He shifts, taps his finger on the table. It's the same tell he had when he lied about crashing my car senior year. I care about Dad's health, I say, but I won't be manipulated. His jaw tightens. You sound just like that therapist of yours. Has she convinced you we're all villains? She's convinced me to ask questions. He laughs under his breath, mean and small. What kind of daughter abandons her father when he needs her most? Mom was right about you. You've always been selfish. The words land, familiar as old bruises, but this time they don't sink in. I understand that's your perspective, I say evenly. He blinks, unprepared for calm. Either help with Dad's surgery or stop pretending to care, he says, voice rising. I've offered to speak to his doctor. That's how adults handle medical concerns. You don't trust me? Your own brother? I trust facts. Fine, he shouts, loud enough for the barista to glance over. Call Dad, but Mom already told him you'd pay for everything. And there it is, the slip. So Dad doesn't actually know you're asking me for money. Spencer's face reddens. Don't twist my words. Mom just didn't want him stressed by pretending I'd fund another imaginary emergency. Heads are turning now. The barista walks over, polite but firm. Sir, I'm going to need you to keep your voice down. This is a private matter, Spencer hisses. Not when it's disturbing customers, she replies. Julian stands from his seat in the corner, moving casually to the counter behind me. Not intervening, just there. My phone buzzes with a message from him. Everything okay? I type one word back, yes. Turning to Spencer, I say, let's call Dad. Before he can stop me, I press his name on my contact list and put the phone on speaker. Hello? My father's voice comes through, calm, alert. Hi, Dad, it's me. A pause, then warmth. Noelle? I thought you were too busy for your old man. Spencer reaches for the phone. I tilt it away. Spencer told me you're not doing well, I say, that you need surgery. A beat of confusion. Surgery? No, sweetheart. The doctor just changed my medication last month. Blood pressure's improving. Dr. Martinez, I ask? That's right. She's been wonderful. My eyes flick up. Not Dr. Wilson? There's a silence heavy enough to fill the room. Spencer gathers his papers, face drained. I have to go, he mutters. I watch him rise, the performance unraveling in real time. As he heads for the door, his phone lights up with notifications. Even from this distance, I see the preview line from Eleonora. Did she agree? How much? He disappears into the morning light, leaving the envelope behind. Dad's voice crackles through the speaker. Everything okay, honey? Yes, Dad, I say softly. Everything's fine now. I'll call Dr. Martinez's office. Let them know you might reach out, he says. And Noelle, thank you for checking. When the call ends, I sit in the cafe's warm hush, the tension draining like air from a punctured balloon. Julian slides into the chair across from me. You handled that like a pro, he says quietly. I didn't yell, I say, surprised. I didn't even shake. That's because you already knew the truth, he says. You just needed to hear it out loud. Outside, sunlight breaks through the clouds. For the first time, I realize I'm not bracing for what comes next. Over the next few weeks, the quiet holds. No new messages, no crises disguised as emergencies, just space. Then, on a Tuesday afternoon, my phone rings again. Dad. I've been thinking, he says carefully. What if we had a family dinner next week? Your mother's promised to apologize. The old reflex twitches in me, that desperate hope. But then I hear Dr. Croft's voice. An apology under pressure isn't real. I love you, Dad, I say, but I'm not ready for that. Not yet. He sighs, disappointed but not angry. She's trying. Is she, or does she just miss the control? A long pause, then quietly. Maybe both. When we hang up, I sit at my desk staring at the city skyline, the sunlight catching on the window glass like slow-moving water. I pull out the therapy journal Dr. Croft gave me, the one she said would help untangle guilt from love. On the first clean page, I write, I can love them and still protect myself. Below it, I underline one word twice. Boundaries. That evening, as the sun bleeds orange over the horizon, Julian texts me a single line. Dinner? To celebrate not losing your mind? I laugh for the first time in days. Sure, I reply. Your treat this time. 3 days later, I stand in front of the tall glass windows of my office, the city stretching below like a mosaic of light and consequence. I'm reviewing quarterly numbers when an email from senior management appears in my inbox. Harrington acquisition, leadership discussion. I blink, reread it twice. They want me to lead the deal. It's the kind of opportunity that can redefine a career. And yet the first thought that crosses my mind isn't excitement, it's fear. What if something happens to Dad while I'm buried in meetings? What if Spencer shows up again? What if Mom... I stop myself. The what-ifs are just the ghosts of an old job description, family crisis manager. That evening, Dr. Croft listens as I pace her office. You're hesitating, she observes. I keep thinking someone will need me, I say, that I should be available in case of another emergency. Whose emergency? She asks softly. Theirs or yours? The question hangs in the quiet. I sit down, staring at my hands. Maybe mine, I whisper. Maybe I'm afraid of finding out who I am when I'm not saving anyone. She smiles, the kind of smile that sees straight through defenses. Then it's time you let that discovery begin. The next morning, I email Maria in management. I'd be honored to lead the acquisition. When the confirmation comes through, it feels like oxygen returning to a room I didn't know I'd been suffocating in. Weeks pass. Work becomes its own rhythm, demanding, focused, mercifully free of family chaos. Every so often, Dad calls just to talk about books or weather or his new physical therapy routine. He never asks for money. I never offer. It's the gentlest version of love we've ever managed. Eleonora, however, doesn't fade easily. A new number appears on my phone every few days, sometimes blocked, sometimes not. The voicemails are performances in miniature, pleading, nostalgic, bitter. I delete them all without listening past the first sentence. One afternoon, I scroll through social media during lunch and find her latest post, a staged photo of her hand resting on an empty chair, captioned, "Some absences echo louder than presence." Hundreds of comments pour in. Sympathy, validation, sanctified pity. I close the app and open the Harrington spreadsheet instead. Numbers are merciful. They don't twist truth into performance. November comes. The air sharpens. I host my own small Thanksgiving for friends. Julian and his boyfriend Michael, Rachel, a few colleagues. Laughter spills across my apartment, mingling with the scent of rosemary and burnt rolls. There's no guilt, no eggshell tension, no conversations that leave me hollow. When the evening ends, Julian raises a glass. "To freedom," he says. I lift mine. To peace that doesn't ask for permission. The next morning, Eleonora's family photo surfaces online. Dad, looking uncomfortable in a turtleneck. Preston and Spencer flanking her, smiles brittle. The caption reads, "So sad when family is torn apart by selfishness. We miss those who should be here." A few months ago, it would have gutted me. Today I feel only a thin ache, like pressing on an old scar that no longer hurts, just reminds. Then, one Tuesday in December, my phone rings. Beatrice, Preston's wife. We've never spoken directly before. Her voice trembles through tears. "I'm sorry to bother you," she says, "but I didn't know who else to call. Preston's been lying to me. He admitted he owes you $10,000 from that failed investment, and now he wants me to sell my car to pay new debts. He keeps blaming you, says you ruined his finances." I close my eyes, inhale slowly. "Beatrice, I'm sorry you're in this position, but I can't fix this for him. That's between you two." She sniffles. "If you could just help us one last time." "No," I say gently. "I can't." Silence. Then, quietly, "Thank you for telling me the truth." When the call ends, I sit in the stillness of my office, feeling something strange. Relief. The web is collapsing, but for once I'm not trapped in it. That evening, an email from Maria appears. "Congratulations, Noelle. Senior management is approving your promotion, effective immediately." For a moment, I just stare at the screen. Then I let out a shaky laugh. It's happening. My work, my life, finally belongs to me. 2 months later, I'm standing on stage at the annual Financial Services Conference, moderating a panel on global market ethics. My voice is steady, clear. When the session ends, a man approaches me with 2 glasses of champagne. "Impressive panel," he says. "I especially liked your point about sustainable growth." I smile, accepting the glass. "Thank you." "Rowan Barnes," he introduces himself. "Architectural Development Partners." "Noelle Carver, Westridge Investments." Our conversation flows easily. Design trends, market stability, the coffee in Rome versus Florence. Not once do we talk about family, or guilt, or obligation. Just 2 professionals connecting. Uncomplicated. When he asks for my card, I hand it over without hesitation. The flutter I feel is small but real, like a pulse reawakening. That night, I place Rowan's card on my nightstand beside a photo of Tuscany's golden hills. The city lights outside shimmer, reflected in the glass, like promises waiting to be kept. Eleonora's calls have dwindled to nothing. Spencer's emails stopped weeks ago. Preston hasn't dared to reach out since Beatrice's confession. Dad checks in once a week, his tone lighter each time. For the first time in my adult life, silence doesn't mean abandonment. It means peace. I pour myself a small glass of wine, raise it toward the window, and whisper, "To freedom, hard won." The reflection that meets my gaze in the glass doesn't look like the fixer, the savior, or the victim. It looks like me. 2 years later, I wake to sunlight spilling across the marble countertop of my apartment. the kind of golden light that makes everything look softer, almost forgiving. From 40 floors up, the city stretches out below like a constellation made just for me. For a long moment, I just stand there barefoot, coffee in hand, breathing in the quiet hum of a life that finally feels like mine. Photos line the hallway, me hiking the Tuscan hills, laughing with colleagues at my promotion celebration, standing beside a kiln at the pottery studio where I now teach on weekends. Each picture feels like a small rebellion, proof that existence doesn't need to be earned through sacrifice. Rowan appears from the kitchen, his tie still loose, carrying 2 champagne flutes. "To the new partner," he says with that easy smile that never asks for anything more than honesty. I laugh, setting my mug aside. It still doesn't feel real. "Which part?" he asks. "The promotion or the piece?" "Both," I admit. He raises his glass. "Then here's to both." Our glasses meet with a soft chime, and the sound feels like punctuation at the end of a long sentence I finally finished writing. My phone buzzes on this counter, a voicemail notification from an unfamiliar number. I already know who it is. For a moment, I just stare at it, feeling nothing. Then I delete it without pressing play. "Your mom again?" Rowan asks, not unkindly. "Probably," I say, setting the phone face down. "She finds new numbers, the way some people find hobbies." He smiles faintly. "Does it ever get easier?" "It doesn't have to," I say. "I just get stronger." Later that evening, as the city shifts from gold to indigo, I sit on the balcony with my journal, the same one I started after that cafe confrontation. I flip past the pages filled with fear and guilt, all the way to the newest entry. Worth is not earned by rescue. Love is not measured by sacrifice. Freedom is choosing who gets access to your peace. I underline freedom twice. Inside, Rowan moves around the kitchen. The sound of him, steady, ordinary, filling the space where anxiety used to live. I remember something Dr. Croft said during our final session. You can love people without reopening the wound that made you want to save them. She'd given me a small brass compass as a goodbye gift, engraved with 4 words, "Find your true north." It sits now on my bookshelf, beside a ceramic bowl I made in that first pottery class. Both imperfect, both mine. My phone lights up again. "Dad this time," I answer. His voice is clear, warmer. "Hey, sweetheart. I wanted to tell you, I started therapy again. It's helping." I smile. "That's really good, Dad. I'm proud of you." "I'm proud of you too," he says. "You taught me what boundaries actually look like." We talk for a while about nothing and everything, about the restaurant he finally opened with a friend, about how he no longer lets Mom handle the finances. There's peace in his voice, the kind born from quiet accountability. When we hang up, I feel no ache, no obligation, just gratitude. Spencer sends a polite birthday text once a year now. Preston hasn't spoken to me since his marriage ended. And Eleonora, well, her name shows up sometimes in gossip, always surrounded by sympathy and half-truths. But her power is gone. I step back onto the balcony. Rowan joins me, his hand finding mine with the ease of someone who knows the difference between closeness and control. Below us, the city sparkles, thousands of tiny stories unfolding at once. "You ever think about them?" he asks quietly. "Sometimes," I admit, "but it's like watching old film reels. I know how it ends, and I don't need to replay it." He nods. "Then here's to new reels." We clink our glasses, the champagne catching the last streak of sunset. "To us," I say. "To you," he replies, smiling, "because you finally chose yourself." I look out over the horizon where the last light fades into night. For the first time in years, I feel no guilt for the stillness, no urgency to fix anyone, no need to prove I belong. Freedom isn't loud. It's the quiet certainty that you've survived the storm and decided not to walk back into it. I lift my glass once more, the city shimmering beneath me like an open road. "To peace," I whisper, "and to never mistaking love for debt again." And somewhere deep inside, the part of me that once kept score finally exhales.